Who am I? No, I'm not about to invite you to play Guess Who with me. But it was a question that I was asked very recently. And so I made the decision to share with you my story so that you can get to find out more about the woman behind the LinkedIn profile. So my working life started in the world of human resources. I was always dead set about working in the world of HR. I got my degree from Northumbria University. I got my CIPD and I set to work determined to climb the giddy heights as far as I could. And along the way, I worked with some incredible organisations, anybody ranging from Debenhams, while there was still a beating heart on Oxford Street in London. I worked for Brighton and Sussex University Hospital. I worked for British Airways as the head of HR of British Airways Holidays. And my last HR role took me as an international HR business partner for Virgin Atlantic, where as a grand finale, I did get to meet Sir Richard Branson. I did get to quaff champagne with him on a rooftop terrace overlooking the Bund in Shanghai. I mean, how does it get any better than that? Well, he asked me my opinion about flexible working, to which I gave a response. And I believe that some of my response is in his book, Screw Business as Usual. But I had this desire to learn more about the human mind. So about a year before I joined Virgin Atlantic, I started to study the human mind, the human psyche. And originally it started with an adult education 10-week life coaching course. And whilst I'd read some books around the topic of the human mind and about energy, the Celestine prophecy, this was my first real insight into the human mind. And I think it's fair to say that my own mind was blown away. And I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. And the course was run by a Solution Focused Psychotherapist and hypnotherapist. And I decided to continue to study and become a Solution Focused Psychotherapist and hypnotherapist, not with the intention of doing what I do now, but because I thought I know a lot about human resources in the form of policy, in the form of process, in the form of change management, employment law, but I didn't really know very much about the psychology of people, what makes people tick, what really drives us as human beings, what makes us behave in the way that we do. So I felt that studying solution-focused psychotherapy and hypnotherapy would really help me and benefit me in my career. And I got about a third of the way into my career, into my training. And I just had this huge, huge light bulb moment where I thought, actually, everything that I am learning is the missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle. So where I'd spent over a decade working in HR, trying to reduce absence, improve intention, improve performance, productivity, drive employee engagement, all of that, I thought, actually, if people don't understand what creates their experience, if they don't even understand anything about the stress response, a word that's thrown about without very much understanding behind it, then how are we ever going to make the kind of shifts that we want to see in the workplace? So armed with this insight, I continued to pursue my training. And I also started to work on anybody that I could get my hands on, because I was learning all of these incredible skills about how to hypnotize people, And I literally would start to bring it into some of the training that I was delivering in-house while I still worked at HR. I would start by grounding delegates, getting them to connect through their breath, getting them to be present so that they could absorb whatever it was that I was training them on. And I started to just, get volunteers, guinea pigs, if you like, take them into meeting rooms. And I was just getting the most incredible results with people. At the point I thought, wow, why do more people not know about this? I remember one of my early ladies that I worked with, a beautiful woman at British Airways. She was a flight attendant and she'd been put on desktop duties because she had really bad psoriasis on her hands. And literally within 3 sessions, 3 voluntary sessions in a meeting room, not exactly a beautiful clinic session, she was back at work. She was back flying. I was working with employees that were struggling with anxiety, that were struggling with trauma, that were struggling with any number of things. I would be getting people to come and swing by my home after work just because I was so dead set on practicing my skills. And I was just so passionate about what it was that I was learning that I knew there was something deep within me, call it a calling if you like, but I knew that I just couldn't keep working in HR. I knew that it was my calling to take this out into the world. So I made this monumental leap of faith, knowing very little about business, to set up my own private practice, which originally I did in Brighton. And it didn't take me very long before I literally had a waiting list of people that wanted to work with me. And it was one of the best times of my life because I was just so humbled and so grateful to be able to support these people, to be able to take people that had spent years and years and years suffering and having to live under the label of diagnosis that they were given, like anxiety, depression. They were struggling in their relationships, they were struggling at work, they were struggling with self-esteem. And in a very relatively short space of time, I could help them to gain a fresh new perspective. And because I was so passionate about what I was learning, I had the learning bug. I absolutely had the learning bug. And I went on to train in other modalities. And I had a real fascination with energy psychology. So I learned skills like emotional freedom technique, or tapping as it's referred to. I learned about matrix re-imprinting. And I started to bring that into my clinical sessions with people. And at the same time, I really wanted to take this knowledge out into the workplace. And a lot of my wonderful ex-HR colleagues heard about the work that I was doing and said, Sara, would you come and do some training in my organization? So my training career started actually very, very, very organically. And I think it's probably fair to say that what I was training, I realized quite quickly, was very leading edge. It wasn't just about what do we need to be resilient people. It wasn't just about, taking breaks, drinking water, keeping hydrated, getting plenty of fresh air, exercise, vitamin D. It was really going to the heart of what's creating our experiences moment to moment to moment. It was giving people the insight into the human mind, in helping them to understand themselves. Because as the saying goes, knowledge is power, and knowledge of the self is empowerment. So fast forward 10 years, in fact, I just celebrated, I think it was my 10th, it might have even been my 11th year anniversary of being self-employed. and having delivered training internationally to global organizations all around the world. And I've probably now held in the region of about 10,000 one-to-one sessions with people. And I never tire of it. I absolutely never tire of it. And along the way, I've continued to acquire more skills, more modalities. So I've added being a MAP practitioner to my repertoire of skills. MAP is like an advanced form of energy psychology. I've qualified as a clarity coach with the fabulous Jamie Smart, who is a Sunday Times bestseller of the book Clarity and Results. And just continue to help people get to the truth of who they really are, to recognize that everything else is just habitual thinking that we've collected along the way based on our experiences, and to really help people to create a breakthrough, in their mindset. Going into organizations, really getting to the heart of what makes a difference to an organization, working with leaders and leadership teams, using a lot of the knowledge that I've gained from Jamie Smart, who has very, very, very kindly given me license to be a clarity trainer with leaders. So it feels to me that my journey just keeps evolving. And I'm sure that there's even more amazing stuff on the horizon, even if I don't know exactly what that is. So if you're still listening, thank you for listening to my story. If you're an organization and you're listening to this thinking, there's something here, then absolutely do get in touch with me. And if you're an individual and you're thinking, oh, this is the woman for the job, this is a woman that can help me, then again, do get in touch. But I'm just really grateful for you listening and finding out more about my story, and hopefully the difference and the impact that I'm making on the world. Bye-bye for now.